posso?
Something very unusual that has geologists concerned is happening right now at the top of our world. Earth's north magnetic pole is moving at a heightened pace away from Canada and towards Siberia. The speed of the movement began to pick up in the mid-1990s from around 9 miles movement per year to 34 miles per year where it is today. So what are the implications of a magnetic pole shift? The most worrisome sign is that such an event could have catastrophic effects, wreaking havoc on the electric grid and leaving life at the surface exposed to higher amounts of solar radiation. When the magnetic poles flip, Earth's protective magnetic field weakens, leaving its inhabitants at higher risk from the effects of space weather. The effects could be more serious than what is being told to the public. Such an event could also radically change the Earth's climate. Furthermore, radiation at ground level could also increase, with some estimates suggesting overall exposure to cosmic radiation would double, causing more deaths from cancer directly related to space radiation.
Various mainstream news outlets have been reporting on the potential for a magnetic pole shift here on Earth. Scientists have estimated the shift could happen at any point in the next 200 years. The last 20 million years the poles have flipped roughly every 200,000 years. And so far, life on Earth has always survived these transitions. The difference now is that an imminent pole shift threatens our current civilization's absolute dependency on technology. The main concern is that huge areas of the world's electrical grid system, satellites and other technology could be left inoperable. Over the last 50 years, the North Pole has moved considerably. The latest data gathered from the European Space Agency shows that the North Pole is in a turbulent and unpredictable state. The Earth's magnetic field is decreasing 10 times faster than normal. There is strong research exploring links between magnetic fields and the effect on sentient brains. The experiments suggest that exposure to variable magnetic field intensities causes impaired judgment and even psychotic behaviour, paranoia, and heightened bouts of rage. Mass animal deaths appear to be on the rise year on year. It's well known the Earth's magnetic field is essential for the well-being of life, but further acts as a vital invisible force assisting animals in navigation. Disappearing seas. Santolina, Ecuador, the sea overnight completely vanished from the harbour, leaving the seabed unusually exposed with boats stranded on a black layer of sand, well away from the new waterline. This natural phenomenon has been witnessed in other regions such as Brazil, Bahamas, and even Mexico. There is no official data on this, but are instances of vanishing seas on the rise. NASA has stated that seawater is a powerful electrical conductor and therefore directly interacts with the magnetic field. Other weird anomalies that may be connected to the decreasing magnetic field concern strange aerial loud booms that have been heard globally. Scientists are at a loss to explain the phenomenon. An alleged former US government contractor geologist turned whistleblower disclosed the magnetic changes are due to the Earth's turbulent core, but stated the sounds have been generated in the mantle as large static charges of energy pushed up through the Earth's crust is broadcasting as infrared sound through the ionosphere and then bouncing back at a lower frequency that we can hear and feel as vibrations. It does appear much environmental strangeness can be directly related to the rapidly decreasing magnetic field. The fact a pole shift could happen at any time is rather unnerving. The side effects swerve from being an all-out Armageddon on humanity, wildlife and the entire biosphere, through to a glorious spiritual ascension towards a more positive future. The fact pole shifts have been endured by Earth many times before should bring us all comfort. But if this is the final piece to freeing humanity from its matrix-like prison, it's hard not to welcome such a tantalising prospect.
Como sabéis, el campo magnético, magnetosfera, es una especie de malla protectora que envuelve a la Tierra. Cuando el campo magnético se reduce, el cerebro humano sufre alteraciones cognitivas y de comportamiento. Y fijaos, ¿acaso no es lo que estamos viendo a nivel global? Sabemos que los animales son especialmente sensibles a las variaciones del campo magnético. De hecho, las utilizan para orientarse. Pájaros, fauna marítima, incluso las abejas. ¿Y qué ha pasado en los últimos años con las abejas? Ya lo sabéis, están desapareciendo. Y nadie sabe a ciencia cierta qué es lo que lo produce. Sin embargo, se ha demostrado en varios ensayos que el cerebro humano también se ve afectado. Si observamos a nivel sociológico un estudio del comportamiento humano, vemos cómo aumenta por momentos la crispación, el descontento, la excitabilidad, los radicalismos. ¿Tiene algo que ver esta alteración del comportamiento con todo esto? Yo creo que sí. Y también creo que esta disminución del campo magnético está relacionado con el centro galáctico. Hay una serie de energías, de pulsos energéticos que estamos recibiendo del centro galáctico que no podemos mesurarlos por una vía física. No podemos entender que se trata de un lenguaje del universo. El universo se comunica. Curiosamente, la ciencia confirma que el Sol está sufriendo muchos cambios en las llamadas eyecciones de masa coronal, que afectan al clima y a la atmósfera de la Tierra. Pero además, nuestro Sol puede influir o distorsionar el núcleo terrestre, la famosa bola de hierro y níquel que proporciona el campo magnético de la Tierra. Todo está milimétricamente conectado a este centro galáctico y sus pulsos de energía transformadora.
We are existing under the biggest bubble in the history of the world. It's a financial monster that is going to unleash itself on every corner of the earth at one particular time. This is a collective effort by world central banks and their respective leaders to keep everything artificially propped up. What do we know about the Federal Reserve and every world central bank? They are serial bubble blowers. They blow up these bubbles and they deflate. All this does is transfer wealth from the middle class to the upper end of society here, the 1%ers. Who owns most of the market? Well, it's the 1%, it's the 2%, it's the CEOs, government leaders on the take, all of them. How do senators become multi-millionaires 10, 20, 30 times fold? Because they're on the take. This issue of artificially suppressing rates has reinflated a stock market bubble, reinflated a housing bubble, and caused malinvestments across the spectrum. This drug, known as money printing, quantitative easing, easing money around the world, is going to become toxic. The markets are not real. The economy is not real. It's all being suspended on the back of central banks that have been propping everything up along with their respective world leader. From my study into what has been going on since 2008, world central banks are buying each other's debt to keep it off balance sheet. This is what they're doing to keep it suspended. What does it come down to? We're all borrowing from the future in greater and greater amounts to sustain where we are. This is why debts and deficits right here in the United States are exploding off the Richter scale with no end in sight. It can't stop. This is the mechanism of the beast. It demands that we continue to do this. So what I want people to understand is they always have to be ready for it, because we are existing in an environment of extreme fakery across the board. And I'm not just talking about stocks. I'm talking about everything. This is a game, and nothing is what it seems. Is there going to be pain? Yes. But by allowing these markets to remain artificial, the pain becomes worse. This won't end until they want it to. That's the truth. It's going to end on their terms, unfortunately.
Das, was unser Leben heute bestimmt, ist das Finanzsystem. Das Finanzsystem gleicht einem Wagen mit luftgekühltem Motor, dessen Fahrer immer schneller fahren muss, um den Motor zu kühlen, der aber genau weiß, dieser Motor wird irgendwann auseinanderfliegen. Viele Leute gehen ja davon aus, dass wir in einer parlamentarischen Demokratie leben. Das stimmt allerdings nicht mehr. Wir leben unter der Diktatur der Finanzindustrie. Das heißt, innerhalb dieses parlamentarischen Systems kann man keine wirklichen, für die Menschheit dringend erforderlichen Veränderungen herbeiführen. Es muss also zu einem Zusammenbruch und zu einer völligen Neuordnung aller sozialen Beziehungen kommen. Es gibt auch die Möglichkeit, dass es zu einem Krieg kommt und dass ein Krieg direkt in den Crash hineinführt, statt aus ihm herauszuführen, wofür er ja eigentlich geplant wäre dann. Wir wissen ja, dass diejenigen, die wirklich von diesem System profitieren, im Moment die Macht haben und diese Macht nicht abgeben wollen, genauso wie sie auf ihren Reichtum nicht verzichten wollen. Also dieser ganze Sektor der finanziellen Spekulation müsste trockengelegt werden. Da hat sich ein Wasserkopf gebildet, der sich über die Gesellschaft erhoben hat und der riesengroß ist, weil die Finanzwirtschaft ist heute um ein Vielfaches größer als die Realwirtschaft in der Welt. Und das ist eine ganz große Blase, die muss irgendwann platzen und die kann man nicht einfach so schrittweise reduzieren, sondern die muss kaputt gehen. Die Zentralbanken fungieren heute als Hedgefonds. Und das ist einfach nur gemacht worden, um dieses System am Leben zu erhalten. Aber dieses System nützt nur ungefähr 0,01% der Bevölkerung der Welt. Und der Rest der Welt leidet unter diesem System. Und um das zu erkennen, ist vermutlich ein Crash notwendig.
Every time there's a movement anywhere on the planet that is challenging a little bit the establishment, surprisingly, everyone is using the fear card to basically trying to scare people. Already we've been infiltrated by people who we think, and we have proof of that, have been paid by the government to discredit the movement by like showing weird behavior. Like trying to discredit the Yellow Vest by saying that the Yellow Vest is a dangerous and violent movement is quite pathetic because it's based by citizens. You can try to qualify citizens as dangerous and violent the way you want, but the truth is that there's mums and dads and kids and old people. Like if those people are violent, then therefore like we're all violent, we're all terrorists. It's a popular movement. So it's coming from people who are basically fed up with politics. The government, which decided to put some oil on the fire, just basically refused to listen. And when you are peacefully speaking to people, and you're facing people which are really heavily weaponized, and those people basically look at you and don't say a word, and suddenly they're starting to march on you and hit you hardly and sending you bombs and tear gas. Like, what the hell is going on here? Last weekend, we had 3,000 peaceful protesters who has been arrested. 3,000. This is a massive awakening about the true nature of what we call the so-called democracy, which is basically a governance based on, if you agree with us, we're going to call you citizen, but as soon as you disagree with us, then we're going to show you who's the boss. We're not stupid. We know that we are dealing with a corrupted system that is deeply corrupted, the same way the whole world is. When we're trying to move away a president, like what's going to happen is that the system is going to provide another puppet. So we are fighting the wrong enemy. That is the puppet master. And as the puppet master is hidden behind the system itself, like we should attack the system itself. So how do we attack the system itself? Cutting the string. How do you cut the string? By removing the system, the structure that the system put in place. We are coming to a point where humanity needs to wake up and humanity needs to come together. And we were waiting this moment for years. They are scared of us realizing that we are powerful.
La plupart me répondra que c'est un mouvement citoyen et je ne dénigre absolument pas cette version. Mais même derrière la réaction d'un mouvement citoyen, peut se cacher en réalité l'action calculée de l'élite qui a de nombreux coups d'avance sur nous. Et oui, l'ingénierie sociale qui n'est ni plus ni moins qu'une manipulation psychologique des masses, cette ingénierie sociale est l'outil préféré de nos élites. Et si cette réaction du peuple fut calculée il y a plusieurs mois, voire plusieurs années, vous serez à même de comprendre comment nos élites et leur appareil médiatique ont créé en vous la colère nécessaire et justifiée, afin que vous vous retrouviez dans la rue à manifester, et ce, dans un seul but, détourner votre attention de l'une des plus grandes crises qui s'apprête à éclater en 2019. Certains diront qu'Emmanuel Macron a été imprudent. C'est totalement faux. La hausse des taxes qui semble avoir sorti tout le monde de sa torpeur n'est ni une imprudence, ni une erreur. Le silence assourdissant dont il a également fait preuve concernant cette annonce et qui vous a poussé à fouler le pavé n'est pas non plus la preuve d'une gêne comme certains semblaient le penser. Sa popularité ne fait pas partie de l'équation. Il n'est pas là pour être apprécié, mais pour remplir sa mission. Vous devez réaliser que le siège du président de la République française est vacant depuis des années. La seule personne qui tient la barre aujourd'hui est un banquier dont le commanditaire se trouve être la famille Rothschild, qui a un plan, et un seul: amener notre navire qu'est la France, et nous avec, à s'échouer sur les terres d'un nouveau continent se nommant le Nouvel Ordre Mondial. Si Macron est au pouvoir aujourd'hui, considérez que toutes ses décisions sont la parole de ses maîtres. Et si Marine Le Pen y apparaît, c'est tout simplement parce qu'elle fait partie de la fondation de ce Nouvel Ordre Mondial. Elle aussi est complice. Votre colère, encore une fois justifiée, fut volontairement déclenchée par le gouvernement. Votre volonté de l'exprimer, quant à elle, fut motivée par le corps médiatique, habituellement si prompt à vous faire taire. Ajoutez à tout cela la rage des ultra-droites et gauches, prêts à casser du flic, et des flics, prêts à devenir casseurs. Nos combats ne seront que l'huile versée sur un feu déjà attisé par nos élites, et qui nous mènera immanquablement à la guerre civile, puis au décret d'une loi martiale. Nous n'avons pas besoin de reprendre le pouvoir, car ce pouvoir, nous l'avons déjà. Je tiens à rappeler que certains ne veulent pas savoir tout cela, et préfèrent rester dans le déni. Et elles doivent absolument ressentir qu'il est l'heure de se réveiller. Pour elles, comme pour les générations d'enfants à venir qui risquent de ne pas connaître la liberté que nous considérons comme acquise.
Hola. I'm Mike Pence.
Assalamu alaikum.
Nicolas Maduro is a dictator with no legitimate claim to power.
Muammar Gaddafi has lost legitimacy to lead, and he must leave.
Saddam Hussein and his sons must leave Iraq within 48 hours.
Let me express the unwavering support of the United States
And the aspirations of the Libyan people for freedom, democracy, and dignity must be met.
and we will stay with you until democracy is restored.
The tyrant will soon be gone. The day of your liberation is near.
On behalf of the American people, we say to all the good people of Venezuela, estamos con ustedes.
Do you think the U.S. is meddling in Venezuela's political system?
I think that's good for us since we are the bastion of freedom.
No comment, my friend.
No
Good
comment.
to see you all.
Thank you.
Been a pleasure.
Do you think the U.S. is meddling in Venezuela right now in their political system?
I don't know.
I'm so sorry, I gotta go.
Okay, thanks.
We gotta go. Okay, I gotta go with Josh here. It's very, it's really not my portfolio.
Sir, that's not my issue. Okay. My issue is financial services.
All right.
That's what I do.
Thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Podemos recordar las palabras de Einstein. Si no me equivoco, dijo, no sé con qué medios se librará la Tercera Guerra Mundial, pero la cuarta se librará con piedras y palos. Entender que una Tercera Guerra Mundial puede llegar a ser el fin de la presente civilización debe disuadirnos de emprender en el escenario internacional acciones desproporcionadas y extremadamente peligrosas para nuestra civilización.
¡Grábala! ¡Wow!
What we are talking about when we say fake news, we are really talking about propaganda. Propaganda is a coordinated approach to influencing beliefs and conduct, and it's a manipulative form of persuasion which violates rational or free will. Understanding propaganda is central to understanding how power is exercised in the international system and into politics in general. There is a significant and permanent displacement of reality at this point in time. That the world we actually live in is one that's very different from the world that we think we live in.
What is AstroTurf? AstroTurf is when political, corporate, or other special interests disguise themselves and publish blogs, start Facebook and Twitter accounts, publish ads, letters to the editor, or simply post comments online to try to fool you into thinking an independent or grassroots movement is speaking. The whole point of AstroTurf is to try to give the impression there's widespread support for or against an agenda when there's not. AstroTurf seeks to manipulate you into changing your opinion by making you feel as if you're an outlier when you're not. AstroTurfers seek to controversialize those who disagree with them. They attack news organizations that publish stories they don't like, whistleblowers who tell the truth, politicians who dare to ask the tough questions, and journalists who have the audacity to report on all of it. Sometimes AstroTurfers simply shove intentionally so much confusing and conflicting information into the mix that you're left to throw up your hands and disregard all of it, including the truth. And most of all, AstroTurfers tend to reserve all of their public skepticism for those exposing wrongdoing rather than the wrongdoers. In other words, instead of questioning authority, they question those who question authority. And then there's Wikipedia. Billed as the free encyclopedia that anyone can edit, the reality can't be more different. Anonymous Wikipedia editors control and co-opt pages on behalf of special interests. They forbid and reverse edits that go against their agenda. They skew and delete information in blatant violation of Wikipedia's own established policies with impunity. You might start to see things a little more clearly. It's kind of like taking off your glasses and wiping them and putting them back on and realizing for the first time how foggy they'd been all along. Once you start to know what to look for, you'll begin to recognize it everywhere.
Die englische Regierung gründet eine Nichtregierungsorganisation, die auch noch Integrity Initiative heißt, die überall Cluster bildet in den europäischen Ländern, um gegen Russland vorzugehen. Das heißt, Journalisten wissen, welche unabhängigen Wissenschaftler sie befragen müssen in ihren Interviews und welche Politiker man auch noch interviewen kann dazu. Und die kriegen Schulungen von der englischen Regierung, wie sie sofort Fake News verbreiten können. Über Facebook und über Twitter und in YouTube sollen die sofort aktiv werden und das gegen Russland machen. Die kriegen Kommando von dieser Stiftung Integrity Initiative, wann sie was zu machen haben. Und diese Gruppen sind finanziert von Facebook, von der amerikanischen Regierung ist mit drin. Das Council on Foreign Relations ist mit drin. Also sozusagen die ganzen üblichen Verdächtigen. Und die sorgen dafür, dass jetzt in allen Ländern solche Gruppen auftauchen.
Soon, most anyone using a computer in the United States will encounter a ranking system that will tell them what media is safe to consume and what isn't. It's called NewsGuard, and it describes itself as a news rating agency at the forefront of fighting fake news. It's already installed in computers in dozens of libraries and public institutions across the country. NewsGuard uses what it calls a nutrition label to rate media outlets either green, yellow, or red.
Our green-red ratings signal if a website is trying to get it right, or instead has a hidden agenda or knowingly publishes falsehoods or propaganda.
No surprise, NewsGuard has determined that this network, RT, is unsafe for human consumption. Instead, they say go with Fox News or Voice of America. Independent media outlets are under attack too.
It's very, very scary because this new tool is really a censorship tool that's going to soon be integrated within all of US technological systems. It's going to be unavoidable. It's not voluntary. It's going to be forced upon us. And it's going to ensure that the narratives that promote war, the narratives that promote the exploitation of people at home here in the United States and abroad is being promoted versus watchdog style journalism.
So could it be that this US government-linked news ranking system, which says it's protecting media consumers from fake news, is promoting fake news itself?
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So as you can see, very powerful representation of the manipulation that is at play here when it comes to the mainstream media. I think if we want to have an understanding of what we're seeing here and how this is all playing out and why, we need to go back to the beginning where a lot of this started. The blueprint is Edward Bernays' Propaganda. This is a book that was written in 1928, which really outlines how they are organizing chaos. As he says, the conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and the opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Those who manipulate this unseen mechanism of society constitute an invisible government, which is the true ruling power of our country. We are governed, our minds are molded, our tastes formed, our ideas suggested largely by men we have never heard of. It is they who pull the wires, which control the public mind, who harness old social forces and contrive new ways to bind and guide the world. It's called programming for a very good reason, because that's what they're doing. They're programming you, as Bernays said. Our habits, our ideas, all come down to a small group of people who are manipulating society into the direction they want it to go.
giant corporations, Facebook and Google and Twitter and all these people, now controlling more and more of what people can and cannot say and see and hear. So we have this situation where these gigantic corporations and the government agencies, brackets same thing, and what we call progressives are joining together to assault freedom of speech by branding it politically incorrect or hate speech or fake news, all these other labels they invent to justify censorship. Because it's the agenda that this happens. And thus, you wouldn't win a free and open debate. So what you do is you shut it down and make sure you don't have a debate. By calling anyone who questions your agenda racist, Nazi, or a bigot. There will come a time, and we're moving towards it so fast, where you will not be able to see or hear or express anything that is not acceptable to the authorities, which ultimately is a cabal network operating from the shadows. So when you realize that the goal is to shut off all other view, opinion that is not within the confines of what is deemed by the authorities acceptable, then you can start to see what is happening in front of our eyes as more and more and more reasons are invented to censor more and more of what people can write and say. It affects the newspapers, it affects the mainstream media in general, but the core of it is the internet and internet giants. Algorithms can censor. You don't have to have people looking and reading and watching everything. You just put in coding that certain words, phrases, subjects are automatically deleted or blocked through artificial intelligence. And that's what we're seeing now increasingly. These internet giants lock back into the Pentagon, into the intelligence networks, and then further back into the shadows and this cabal which is orchestrating this whole deal. Reduce information that challenges that official norm, which eventually is meant to be all you ever hear or see. And so what we're seeing is more and more excuses to censor people's opinion and people's information. And it's heading daily towards this goal of people only seeing what the system wants you to see. And this is why they are manipulating the target population.
What's so wonderful and mysterious about the quantum physics and quantum mechanics is that when we look to see what are these building blocks of matter, we find that at the very center of the very smallest, inseparable, indivisible particle, which would be like an electron, if you can't get any smaller than that, then that qualifies as a quantum particle. Those little electrons can actually be observed to be in one place, and then it's like they vanish. They can change an energy level and show up instantly somewhere else. And they do other things also. They can be connected with one another, entangled, and when one is affected and its spin is up and the other one's spin is down, if you observe one, as soon as you make an observation on one that's entangled with another, they both flip at the same time. They're showing entanglements that are holding together at greater and greater distances. So we can tell, obviously, throughout the universe, there can be an entanglement with one particle right here and another particle in an entirely different galaxy, great distances away. So there seems to be no limitation on the distance. Consciousness is more than the neurons. So when we try to do the neuron mapping like they're doing, and they can map the brain and the networks, and then supposedly we should know everything, but we don't. It's more like seeing that you can see the roads, but you don't know the traffic patterns, and you don't understand why things are happening the way they do. And memories are not stored in a place. It's not like, oh, there's the neuron that stored that memory. They move around. So when we look at the way the brain functions, it's very disappointing in terms of finding a way to lock consciousness into matter. That has not succeeded. The reason science cannot prove that consciousness is produced by the brain is what we don't know how to measure consciousness. And science can only handle what it can predict. It can only, which means you have to be able to measure something. You have to be able to tell if it's there, if it's changing, if it's gone. And if you can't do that, we still can't do that with consciousness. We can look at brainwave states, we can measure some things, but it doesn't really get to the heart of the issue. And when it comes to neuroscience, what scientists are noticing, strangely, gets back to that question of time, because we're noticing sometimes that we've made a decision before we've even felt the input to our senses, which seems impossible. Another good one that's easy to do is if you're starting to catch a cold and you can tell yourself, I can't get sick today. And I think we've all had that experience where it's like, no, this is not happening. I have to stay well today. And then you notice, after I thought that, I felt fine. A lot of people have that experience. I'm still gathering information, but it's possible that what we're looking at is something that's similar to a holographic multiverse. So there's a holographic component where everything is connected and it's one, like the pages in a book. But there are all these, each page might signify another parallel reality, which could be side by side by side, and sometimes you can jump from one page to another. There are an infinity of possibilities that at every moment we make a choice, we're looking at that and feeling that. And it matches the fact that we live in such a fine-tuned universe right now, which is ridiculously unlikely. So some people say this is proof that God exists, and I tend to think so too. The most important thing right now for us as humans to deal with all the problems on the planet and to help each other is to recognize the level of expansiveness that we can attain and the way that we can play with these different realities. And we think we're in this little world, and to make a quantum jump, we need to step back. You need to recognize that you are consciousness and that you're observing all this. You have feelings, you have thoughts, but you're not your thoughts and you're not your feelings. So it's becoming mindful and then becoming energized. And then the third step is exactly that. It's just choose where you want to go next. And even if you're skeptical, you can still get this to work. So next time you're in a difficult situation, maybe the car is out of gas, or you're stranded, or you have no money, or you lost your purse, whatever happened, some sort of bad news, just take a moment, relax, meditate, center yourself, breathe, and then just imagine, well, how good could this get? And imagine it just like it's a dream, like you're going into that daydream and you're going to walk into that reality. We don't live in a linear timeline at all. I think that is one of the biggest things for people to realize, is that you're able to see what you might call a miracle. In a moment, you know, anything could happen, and to recognize that there's always a possibility for phenomenal transformation.